Hi, this is Carrie Weichel-Delaplane, and I'm here to talk to you about open systems theory by Fremont Kast and James Rosenzweig. Kast and Rosenzweig were both professors of management and organization in the Graduate School of Business Administration at the University of Washington, and they wrote numerous articles and books on general systems theory and organizational theory and management. I wanted to start with this quote by Ludwig von Bertalanffy. In one way or another, we're forced to deal with complexities, with wholes or systems in all fields of knowledge. This implies a basic reorientation in scientific thinking. What I really liked about this quote was that it referenced systems, and he also referenced a reorientation in scientific thinking. For me, this captured both the essence of the movement towards systems thinking, but also what I'll talk about later in terms of Kast and Rosenzweig thinking of GST as a new paradigm, a whole new way to re-envision organizations. When Kast and Rosenzweig wrote about the history of GST, they pointed to 1961 as a time when William Scott wrote about GST and it took off from there. They joked in one of their articles that almost every article that they could find had the word systems in it in reference to organizational theory, and again pointed back to William Scott in 1961 as starting that trend. I thought this was a great chart by Kast and Rosenzweig in 1976 that really captured in a concise way the evolution of organization and management theory, from traditional theory, modifications being made, to the emerging view and a systems approach. Now I'll talk about some selected key concepts of GST. Subsystems or components are parts of every system. Every system has at least two elements, and these elements are interconnected. The four key subsystems are strategic, technological, human cultural, and structural systems. The chart to the right is just one way to look at a system and has a managerial system overlaid on top of the different subsystems as its own subsystem. Negative entropy, simply stated as an increase in organization and orderliness, or the opposite of chaos. Steady state, dynamic equilibrium, and homeostasis are directly or closely related to that of negative entropy. They're a continuous inflow of materials, energy, and information, and really, as the name implies, a steady state. A hierarchy broken down is the components of the system, and I broke it down: a suprasystem, which in the context of higher education could be all colleges and universities in the world. A system would then be one of the colleges or universities, and a subsystem or subsystems would be the different interconnected parts of that particular college or university. Equifinality of open systems. Simply speaking, equifinality of open systems are saying that there's numerous ways to come to the same outcome. Some limitations of GST, as stated by Kast and Rosenzweig. First, a high level of abstraction, and I'll say more about that in a minute. One of the stated limitations was the biological metaphor and the contrived nature. Kast and Rosenzweig expressed concern that with the predominant emphasis on natural organisms, that GST may understate some characteristics which are vital for the social organization. They recognized that the social organization is a contrived system, and because of that, Kast and Rosenzweig cautioned us against making an exact analogy between it and physical or biological systems. Kast and Rosenzweig said that we needed to be more precise in our application of GST. When we use the term organization and behavior, are we talking about the way the organization behaves as a system, or are we talking about the behavior of the individual participants? By goals, do we mean the goals of the organization or the goals of the individuals within the organization? I know as a student of GST, I really appreciated what they said, and I also found tremendous freedom in the idea that I could apply GST in so many different ways to look at organizations. Also, I just want to go back real quick. Kast and Rosenzweig said that the more that we used GST and actually applied it, as you saw in the first slide where it said there was a need to, or that GST was kind of vague, they posited that the more that we actually use GST, the more precise it would actually become. And they said that this could occur by obtaining a better understanding of subsystems, getting the people involved. And what I meant by getting the people involved was that if you get people who are actually involved in the organization that you're studying to help study the organization in the context of general systems theory, it would provide a more precise analysis of that organization. The people within the organization understand the relationship between the subsystems and the function of the subsystems and have the organizational data to really make that study come alive. GST is a new paradigm. In 1973, Kast and Rosenzweig asked the following. They said, do our current failures to fully use the systems paradigm suggest that we just reject it and return to the older, more traditional time-tested paradigms? Or do we work with systems theory to make it more precise, to understand the relationships among subsystems, and to gather information inputs which are necessary to make the systems approach really work? Really, they wanted to keep going and to get more precise and to just keep using it because they truly, truly stated that they felt it was an exciting new way to conceptualize organizations. General systems theory in higher education. Bastedo in 2012 looked at general systems theory as an exciting way to see our organizations as interrelated to their environments and to environmental pressures and concerns. And Bastedo said that using GST in the context of higher education created and creates leaders who are more aware and more attuned to the different tensions and challenges facing higher education. Bess and D in 2008 looked at GST as a way to analyze change taking and change management and applied it to really look at the not the equifinality, but the dynamic equilibrium and homeostasis, and use that as a way to really assess the risk of and rewards of change taking. Mizukasi in 2006 created a whole way to use GST as a tool for program evaluation. And I will show you that diagram here where they really take the subsystems of higher education and detail it out to look at a systems approach to program evaluation. Now I'll read to you some of my conclusions in my study of Kast and Rosenzweig. GST is continuously adjusting to the external environment to better survive itself and serve those who are hoping to make their organizations stronger and more effective. Kast and Rosenzweig were interested in unleashing GST to the people within the systems so that they could utilize their intimate knowledge of their subsystems to use this powerful framework to its maximum effectiveness. In this rapidly changing landscape of higher education, Using a tool as comprehensive as GST is an exciting way to envision change in higher education and to use as a guide to evaluate our complex systems and their countless interdependencies. GST creates an opportunity to be more aware leaders who are able to see relationships at all levels as part of a supersystem, system, and the subsystems. For the discussion board, select a subsystem within your own organization. Using a GST lens, describe at least one external force that has an impact upon that particular subsystem. Please be precise in describing your level of analysis of the subsystem.